Let's welcome on board Naresh Mirani as well as Kunal Bothra as always to talk to us about technicals of the market. Kunal, you go first. Do you think it's only pharma which is breaking the back for the market, or there is that a bit of a weakness and a selling pressure which is creeping in?
Yeah, I think some bit of weakness coming out for few sectors, but then broadly, I think the Nifty as well as the Bank Nifty are still into a range. I think we are holding on to that 24,500, which I believe could be a fresh ease of support for the Nifty, and we are trading much above the 53,000 mark, which is again which was a recent resistance for the index, and that's changed its behavior towards now being a support for the Bank Nifty over the very near term. There are not too much of a negative price action for stocks in terms of follow through downside. So stocks which are trading onto a breakout mode on Friday, those stocks are taking a bit of a pause for themselves, and the ones which had seen sharp selling pressure, they've seen mild bit of follow through price action. So it's literally a day where the markets are taking a bit of a pause, and we expect that this action could probably continue for the next couple of days.
Okay. Nischal is also there, Naresh is also there. I just want to mark the intraday graph once again, because that in a sense is telling you that the elevation at higher levels for the market seems to be missing. You don't have too many grand movers, you don't have too many grand losers. So then you're working with a market which is not struggling for rhythm, but I would say it's taking it slightly easy today. What is popping out on my screen once again is Trident, once again is ITI, and once again it is Proteon is looking strong, and you got MTNL which is moving up 10%, ITI is moving up 10%, and when I see the tail is wagging the dog, MTNL, ITI, then you say that is market really running out of ideas? I mean, why are these stocks going higher? Nischal, what's your sense? I mean, do you think we've made a reasonable comeback from the recent low? Do you think we've now reached fair value levels, or this market could extend itself on the upside by another 5-7%?
Afternoon, Nikunj. I think we've historically seen, the pendulum moves both the ways basically. So you may see another 2-4% more. But having said that, I think this is a good time to look at some of the emerging themes in the market, and those could be bought even at these current prices, because as the government orders have started flowing, I think that is the bigger theme basically, the government investment. That is a bigger theme basically, which will play out over the next 1.5 year, 2 years.
I'm struggling to find anything which could be called as an absolute big stock today. HDFC Bank, by the way, that slow crawl on the upside continues, and now I found one, that is SEAT. Kunal, SEAT.
Yeah, Nikunj, I think there was some news flow attached towards the stock. It opened with a gap up. That gap was around, or the base of the gap was around 3230, 3240 mark for SEAT, and the stock has moved up higher by a margin of 10% further after that gap up of a couple of percentage points. So I think it's a very strong price action day. Volumes are also one of the best volumes day for SEAT, and this also gels with many of the other tire stocks. I was looking at JK Tires, and then Apollo Tires, Balkrishna Industries. Even the Balkrishna Industries is one of the weaker ones in terms of price performance, but I believe that it's more of a synchronized pack move for the tire stocks. SEAT, of course, after this gap up, now establishes a strong base at 3200 mark. So keeping that as a stop loss, traders could hold on to their long positions.
Okay, since we're talking about SEAT, here are what the management had to tell us earlier, because we did quiz the management on that acquisition, whether it's going to be EPS accretive, what it brings to the board. Here are what the management told us. Okay, we'll try and pull up that soundbite shortly, but the stock is doing quite well. The street is believing that will have a positive impact on the EPS as well. There have been certain target price upgrades that have been made by the brokerages as well, and the management believes that the OHT segment is definitely poised for growth. Hear it out.
It will be definitely EPS accretive over a period of time. Initially, first of all, it will take about 6 months to complete the deal. So we will get possession of the property, so to say, by May, June of FY26. And thereafter, we'll start consolidating this result. So initial period, there is a offtake and a supply agreement with Michelin, so that business continuity is mentioned. I think that's a very good arrangement. And when gradually we start getting control of the entire operation, it will be EBITDA accretive first and then EPS accretive. We have taken price hikes in truck bus radial segment, in passenger car segments, and In OEM, it is indexed. So in OEMs, we have got about 4% price hike roughly on an average across categories. So we would be looking up at opportunities also to take up prices in our international business.
Nischal, as we wrap 2024 and roll over to 2025, what is that big theme which you think could be the dominant theme for next year?
Nikunj, I was mentioning basically that government capex. We have seen across sectors now, government has started, it's opened up its purses basically. And I think after the 6 months where there was an election happening in the country, I think after that you are seeing huge orders coming, both on the railway side as well as on the power side. We are yet to see some orders on the road side, but I think these two sectors seem to be really big. And I think a couple of days, I think last Friday we had, last whole week, there was a 10,000 crore order which came out for Kavach and distributed to 4 or 5 players. And that's a very big opportunity, almost around 50,000 crore opportunity kind of a thing in the next 5 years. So I think railway is one very big space basically which is opening up. Similarly, we have seen in case of power, recently there has been HVDC lines which got allotted to couple of players, large amount of capex. So I think these two sectors at least seem to be, and the whole government capex seems to be a very big theme playing out for the next 1.5 years.
Hope is that the capex theme actually, kind of trickles down to the mass economy, because right now consumption has stagnated. That's the word coming in from Marico's, Harsh Mariwala as well. When I spoke with him as to what's happening in the economy, he talked about how macros continue to be a big challenge, and that is what is putting pressure. In fact, let's play out that soundbite, because today FMCG is the one which is on the back foot, whether it is Marico itself, GCPL, HUL or the others. Hear out what he had to say and what he had to attribute this weakness to.
The consumption has actually stagnated, that's for sure.
Okay.
It's not increased. It may have increased at a very high. So there's a K-shaped kind of a impact of the economy on the rich and the poor. The rich have become far more richer, and the poor have got impacted, and partly because of unemployment, partly because of inflation. So actually the consumption figures show that it is stagnated, the consumption. And a lot of it has to do with macros in terms of the economy not providing enough income, growth in income, impact, which again impacts consumption. But clearly there is an opportunity to improve that. And I think a lot will depend on how the economy does in future, in terms of employment, in terms of inflation, in terms of agriculture productivity. And if all that works out well, we should start seeing a positive cycle also.
Yeah, let's see whether we are able to see that improvement or not. But for now, the stocks are taking quite a bit of tumble across the board. What's holding out okay is some of the cement names. That's doing better. Perhaps what Nischal was pointing out, that capex is likely to be increased in the second half of the year. So that's something which is doing well. And then the textile names are actually holding out. Naresh, what's your sense on some of these textile companies if you track that? A Trident, for instance, a Wellspun India, for instance. Even Alok Industries, Vardhaman Textiles, Rajesh Exports of the world?
So majority of these names have given breakout, some have bottomed out, and this is a sector which went through a correction also. So the best name in terms of relative strength is Nitin Spinners. The stock did not see a large correction like the other names. The stock has hit into a new all-time high. Looks promising. The next one would be Gokaldas Exports. This is one more stock after topping out at 1,000 odd levels almost a year back. Went through a consolidation, 750, 800, 1,000 multiple times. And being on the garmenting side has the best beneficiary. So that is second. Third could be SP Apparels, which is yet to break out, which is closer to break out above that, again, 1,000 mark. So structurally, a lot of garment names have not really corrected. So KPR Mills has not really corrected, but has been a slow mover. So one is looking at garments. Next comes into home textiles. Himmat Singh Kasir is the one which has seen the maximum volumes. And then you go to Nitin Spinners. Apart from that, there are many small cap textile names which have started popping up on charts. So looks promising, the whole sector.
Looking at the metal index, Anisha, that's the only one which is, I think, showing signs of recovery from the day's low. Look at the metal index. There you go. Days high. Kunal, क्या हो रहा है?
Yeah, that's a sector which I think looks attractive.
No China. everything in metal
No, there
is
is
into
that news
China.
of China's stimulus, right? There is an important meeting lined up this week where they are going to consider stimulus again, and that chatter has increased again around a stimulus, and that's what the reaction is every time.
See,
on
Hong
the
Kong
metals
was up
pack.
3% last when I checked. My point is the stimulus are like saying that you're trying to just move somebody out from a ICU to a normal ward. The patient is still in the hospital. So is that good enough? And this China trade, which in a sense came back as like the most popular trade, has not really been a successful comeback trade. It lasted for like a couple of days, which is what all trades do, but it has not translated into a reality. And if the China association with metal is strong, I'm surprised that the metal index in a sense has been relatively doing better. It's not here. Relatively the index has done better. And when we know that the local steel prices are under pressure, we know that there is talk of an anti-dumping duty. So metals are doing well irrespective of what the reality on the ground is in terms of where the steel prices are headed. We are talking about anti-dumping duty because you want to safeguard the domestic producers. Yeah, metals. Then I'll go to Nischal to take his view.
Yeah, so my sense, Nikunj, on the metal stocks is that this move in the last 3-4 days is now getting into a synchronized price action. So what is happening earlier was, I think, just Hindalco and JSW Steel were the only two names which are showing signs of strength. Most of the other stocks, the likes of Tata Steel, SAIL, etc., even Vedanta to a larger extent, these stocks were struggling below their long-term moving averages for quite some time. Now, in this last 1 week, we've seen many of the stocks breaking out of their long-term moving averages. JSW Steel is one of the top performers in terms of prices. Then you have Jindal Steel, Hindalco, they've done reasonably well. Even SAIL as well as Tata Steel, they've recovered somewhere around 8% to 10% from their recent swing lows. So it's the entire pack which is trying to make a comeback. Volumes, is what we're observing, into these stocks. So that generally indicates that this could be a strong or initial part of a trending move for many of these names. Here we find out, that which are the stocks which come very close towards the breakout of the life highs or the all-time high levels. They are the ones which generally become, leaders in the hopefully in a coming rally for these metal names.
We can take this one out because the decision by MAPMA India to reevaluate their 10% stake to be co-founded by Rohan Verma, I think the management, both the chairman and his son Rohan Verma, they both have clarified that they've reversed the decision. But I'm surprised why the stock is reacting today. Are you part of that interview, right?
No, so I didn't do the interview, but I remember them saying that the 35 crore by the company is something that they've reversed. They hadn't reversed the 10% decision.
No, they had also,
at least that's what I remember.
Okay.
35 crores is what I remember that the company will not put in. 10% was something that was going to be the case. I'm just going through the latest release which is out at the exchanges. The board and the management believe that the focus of the company should remain on the B2B and B2B2C sectors, which constitute over 99% of the revenues and continue to represent a significant growth opportunity for the foreseeable future. MapMa India is a market leader in these segments with strong track record, etc. Has reversed its decision to make any equity or debt investment in the proposed new company. So the much I remember, I was sure about debt not being a part of it, that 35 crore. I wasn't sure about that 10% stake coming in. But I think it will deserve a bit more look into this matter, because if the company is not even getting 10%, then are they just kind of divesting the stake, and exactly how it's going to pan out? I think I have more questions rather than answers at this point of time. We'll try and get the management perhaps to get us those answers, because they will be best placed to help us understand what exactly is the way forward. The stock has shot up quite materially because those corporate governance issues was something that the street did not like at all. They thought this is one of those growth areas, and the fact that Rohan is not going to be associated with the parent company, is going to do something on the sides where it's taking some of the money from the company. All of these were the red flags. They were going to use the same brand name. There was no royalty payment which was going to be made to the parent company. All of those issues is something that we had asked the management earlier as well, and there was some clarity that had emerged, but not fully. Today they've informed the exchanges that they've reversed the decision, but what decision has been exactly reversed? Are they not completely divesting that stake, or they are not farming that arm or something like that? We'll have to get more clarity. I'm not very sure of that matter.
In conversation with our technical experts and Nischal Maheshwari. Nischal, you mentioned government capex could be a big theme, but isn't that something which markets have already factored in? Most of the government-dominated stocks, whether it is MNC capital goods stocks or even domestic companies, they are trading at P multiples, which in a sense are already pricing in a 15-20% growth.
Yes, I think to a extent it is. But then if you really look at it, the newer sectors which are emerging, basically something like what I was talking earlier, the Kavach order of 10,000 crore, which has come out last week. I'm saying, yes, it has been anticipated for a long time, but it's happening now. And similarly, now some of the materials which are used. So cement is one particular sector, basically. I believe at least for the next 2 quarters is going to be very good numbers for cement, because the first 6 months there was hardly any orders from the government side, and that's why cement was not doing well. So I believe volumes are going to pick up. Earlier you were talking about metals. I believe metals is also showing you some amount of strength. One, for the reason that government orders and capex happening. Secondly, possibly anti-dumping duty. So that way, I think still some there are a lot of things one can play on this government capex theme.
What's a good time to start buying consumption, Nischal? Because you cannot have economy where consumption just falls flat. There would be some time when the consumption will come back. The idea as investors is to reach before the market actually sees that real turn.
I think consumption is disappointed for a long time now, Nikunj. I think one should wait and see a very clear U-turn before going in and actually buying it. But what I see here is basically, yes, I think a government spending should actually spur the consumption side also. You have now got good rainfall. I think the winter crop is also going to be good, given that there is enough water in the ground. So I think the March quarter should be one, basically one should start tracking and looking at consumption, but don't jump the gun. Wait for a clear indication from the companies that they are start seeing growth once again on the ground. Because now the disappointment has been a very long one, basically. So you don't really want to preempt it now.
Take coming in on consumption in the last few minutes, apart from C Info System, which is of course climbed quite a bit. There's Blue Star, which is doing quite well in the trading session. There's a bit of a recovery when it comes to Metropolis Health as well, and Westlife Development too, from the lows of the trading session, is perking up a bit in the last 2 minutes. So just watching out for some of these names. On the losing side, however, Chalet Hotels is giving up. Lupin is under pressure. Concord Biotech is seeing a bit of a decline from the highs of the trading session. Kunal, wanted your take regarding Blue Star. That stock is doing quite well, and Metropolis Health as well.
So Blue Star, on the short-term charts, when we looked at the recent, price trend, the stock has rallied from, I think the recent base was around 1880, 1900 for the stock. It's moving towards the previous highs of 2150, 2200, which it had hit in the month of, September and October start. And from there on, the stock had gone through a correction. So I think on the back of higher volumes, this move looks to be a lot more stronger for Blue Star, and my expectation is that in this leg of up move, the stock should be able to cross back above the previous highs of 20 to 50. The near-term targets, which one could look to set, for the stock on the short-term basis, and after this 200 to 50 pointer correction, should be on the upside of 200 points for Blue Star, which means closer to 2400, 2450 could be a potential target range for the stock.
Okay, point taken. So that's a view coming in on this one on the charts. Just taking stock of what else is happening in the markets. For the frontline index, we just continue to be around the 24,630 mark. L&T is one stock which is showing quite a bit of strength at this point of time. Just wanted a better sense around that. Naresh, what's the view on L&T?
So L&T looks very promising, major breakout in the making. So if you look at the last 6 to 12 months, there were 3 attempts to 4 attempts on the lower end of 3250. We saw it on election day before that. And on the upside, there have been 4 to 5 attempts around this 3850 to 3900 mark. This was the highs back on the opinion day, poll day, as well as back in April of this year. We finally broken out above those levels today. So it's a clean breakout, buy at current levels as well as on dips. This could be setting up for a move to 4500 eventually.
He's looking good. On that note, Nischal, we let you go. Thanks so much for making time and speaking with us. Just taking a quick closing trade idea from our technical experts. Kunal?
So that'll be a buy on Jubilant Food. That's a chart which is looking extremely attractive. Now trading closer to 700 mark, 690 thereabouts for Jubilant Food. Would look out for targets in the range of 725 to 750 over the very near term.
Naresh, what about your closing trade idea?
So that would be a buy on Muthoot Finance. The stock looks interesting, showing a lot of relative strength, crossing the last 1 month highs above the 1992,000 mark. could be headed into new all-time highs, would keep a stop loss below 1950.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.